Um, hey everyone, my name's Alexis,
And my name is Grace.
and last summer I traveled to Morocco, but which is
On the globe, it's like right here.
which is in North Africa. And Grace,
And I traveled to South Korea for the summer, and I lived there for the past 6 years, which is right here. It's in between China and Japan.
and before we continue, we just want to make sure everyone can hear us. Yeah,
Sweet. Okay.
good. All right.
So, what we're going to talk to you about today is channeling your inner animal in Morocco and Korea. So, before we even begin, we're going to ask you a couple of questions. So, number one, what kind of animals do you keep as pets?
I know that when I was growing up, I kept a dog, a cat, and a fish as a pet, and they were some of my best friends.
Funny because I had none.
Our next question is, what kind of animals do you usually see in your backyard? Do you see lots of insects or squirrels or maybe the occasional snake?
I mean, I've seen a couple of fireflies in my neighborhood, but nothing more than that.
Yeah, especially in the summer.
Yeah,
I
for
see lots of those. And our third question
Is what kind of animals do you think are in Morocco or in Korea?
You can type in the chat if you'd like, so we can see your responses and we can all learn together. So, what kind of animals are in Korea?
Well, there aren't that many animals in Korea in general, but usually you would see them in the city. If you really want to see animals, you should probably go to the countryside. But before we get into that, let me ask you. I thought monkeys were a Morocco thing. Was it not?
Okay, so monkeys, it's a common misconception that monkeys are very popular in Morocco because when you look on travel agency sites or you look in pamphlets, oftentimes there will be pictures of popular tourist destinations and they have monkeys. But monkeys are not do not live very widely in Morocco. They only live in concentrated areas in the mountains. There's this one monkey that is the most prevalent monkey in Morocco, and it's called the Barbary macaw, and he's actually endangered. So there are a lot of issues in Morocco right now where people want to show tourists the Barbary macaw because it's the special monkey in Morocco, but they're trying to balance like keeping them safe with allowing people to see them.
Wait, so if monkeys aren't common, then what are?
Well, cats. Cats are everywhere in Morocco. I personally like cats because they'll come up to you and purr and softly brush against your leg. But yeah, there are loads of cats. I stayed in Fez, Morocco over this past summer, and you could see cats running on the stairs and just walking through the streets. They're very common. They're just like people, you know. They get out of your way, you get out of their way. It's a very friendly environment for the cats.
Hey, that's really nice because the only common animal you'll see in the city of Korea, or at least in Seoul, is a pigeon. In Korean, it's called a 비둘기. There's not much else to pigeon. Like, I mean, they have the sound called the coo, 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 but they are considered as dirty animals. They're not very well liked. They roam the streets very often.
Well, that's interesting because in Morocco, my homestay family who I stayed with, they had a pigeon, and they considered it really clean because he leave his feathers in the little water bath.
Insane.
And the name for a pigeon in Arabic, which is what they speak in Morocco, is hamama, and they go, and that's how you call the pigeon over, the hamama, to come and play with you, and they'd run around, and they were very friendly. Yeah,
that's really neat. The only kind of pets that somebody would keep at home in Korea would be a dog or sometimes a cat, but mostly a dog. So what we would do with the dogs in the city is that people usually buy smaller white dogs and then they would dress them up or like dye them different colors. I didn't find any pictures of them dyed in different colors here, but I've seen dogs like dyed neon pink or like green. Some have an orange with like blue ears.
Do they ever do different patterns? Do they ever like speckle them with dots, or is it just one color?
That's an interesting question. I've never seen other than just like solid colors. I've seen parts of dogs dyed. So I've seen like some parts would be orange or some parts would be blue, or the tail will be pink, while the rest of the dog would be like the natural color. But most of them are seen as accessories. They're usually luxury items, I guess, and so these dogs wouldn't really be walked or anything or played with. They'd mostly be carried around in like little purses walking up the street. It's very chic to have a small dog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually only encountered one dog while I was in Morocco, and his name was Yola. In Morocco, people don't really have dogs as pets because they're dirty. Cats will, they'll clean themselves, which is why they got their balls. And then, like I said, the pigeon will clean itself with its little wings in the little bird baths. So they're very dogs, they don't really have that method of cleaning themselves, so they aren't really considered good pets. And the word for dog in Arabic is qalb. So that was the only dog I ever saw in Morocco. He was very friendly to walk around the market with us and walk us home. He was very friendly, but he didn't really belong to anyone. He just was a street dog.
It's interesting that you mentioned like some animals don't really belong to people. I mean, I guess the stray animal you would see on the streets would be the pigeon, but if you go to certain parts of Seoul, you can see things like dog cafes or cat cafes, and at some point even sheep cafes. This is usually because people can't own animals in Korea. So like myself, because I live in an apartment, it is too small to own an actual pet. But my friends and I walked into this one area in this very chic and trendy place called Hongdae, and we found this sheep cafe with a ton of sheep. You basically order a drink and you
watch the sheep.
Yeah, you can pet the sheep. You can feed the sheep. You pay a little extra money. It's around like $10 to get in.
Okay.
But afterwards, like you get to stay.
Can pet them.
Yeah.
And
you get to stay with the sheep as long as you want. Yeah.
Wow.
And then these cafes usually have regulations to keep these sheep as clean as possible, which is interesting if you think about it. Yeah.
It's sort of like a communal pet, like when you go to a petting zoo, but they're in the cafe and you can enjoy them. Wow.
That's exactly what it's like. Yeah.
So another animal that is very prominent in Morocco, besides the pigeon, is the camel. Camels in Morocco have one hump, not two humps. And the humps on the camel are actually very special because they're a fat reserve. A lot of people think that the hump on the camel is full of water, but it's actually just full of a lot of fat. And so if they go a long time without eating, they'll start using that fat reserve to keep themselves alive. But when they go back to eating, their hump will get bigger. Like gaining and losing weight, they gain it in their hump on their back. Camels are also used for transportation in deserty areas in Morocco. And Morocco has the Sahara Desert, so when people need to get from place to place, they'll usually ride the camel because they're very adapted. Their big feet are really adapted to walking through the sand. You know how when you walk through the sand, it's very easy to put your foot in and maybe slip. So yeah, they're very adapted to that. And they're very majestic creatures, I think. They have these long, beautiful eyelashes, and they have really tough, thick hair, and they are very loud creatures. They're very obstinate, and they make roar noise. They have a sort of like guttural growl. The camels do.
Wait, so like, did you ride a camel?
I did. I got to ride a camel this past summer.
What's that like?
Well, when you know how when you ride a horse, you get on him like this, and usually your legs will hug around the horse. But on a camel, they're very fat. Like I said, they have a lot of fat in their hump when you sit on top, and so your legs are just out. They're just out like this most of the time. If you're a smaller person, but if you're a bigger person, then it's a little bit more comfortable. But
what about the view?
It was very beautiful. The Sahara Desert is huge. It's very orange. There are lots of like waves of sand. It's a very beautiful place.
Nice.
Yeah. I named him Fadi, my camel. And in Morocco, it's actually, I didn't know this at the time, but in Morocco, it's not really seen as respectful to name your pet a human's name. So they usually give them other names that aren't human names that you'd usually give like someone like your child. So Fadi wasn't a good name to give my camel, but I learned.
Nice. Talking about transportation, although, okay, so Korea is the manufacturer of a lot of cars, right? Like Hyundai and Daewoo. But we also have horses in this one island at the bottom of Korea called Jeju-do. So Jeju-do has this huge history with these horses. Ever since like 1073 AD, there have been records of this little island breeding these horses for the entire country. And so in the past, they used to be used for like farming and domestic like travel and the like. But now they're used for tourism or for speed racing. Like the thing about these horses is like you'll notice they look a little different. They have very thick necks and very short legs, and their hooves are so thick that they don't even need horseshoes.
Wow.
Yeah. So as you can see, like the person is taller than the horse. These horses are tiny.
Are they powerful?
Yeah,
tiny but powerful.
Yeah. So
very muscular.
Apparently, like can eat their meat. It's an industry. And if you eat their meat, because they're so powerful, they're supposed to give you a certain kind of power as well. So you're supposed to be more energetic throughout the day.
Yeah.
It's really
kind of like our protein here. Like, you know, some things give you more energy, and I guess it's such a powerful, energized horse that gives you lots of energy.
Yeah, it's really neat because this horse just has so many interesting qualities. Another thing is that my mom told me about it like way long ago is that it has eyes on its legs. I'm still trying to find out like how this is possible or what she means by it. But,
so eyes on their legs that they could possibly see with?
Like they don't actually see with them anymore, but apparently they used to, or something along those lines.
Sounds kind of mythological.
Yeah.
That's neat.
Do you have any like legendary animals in Morocco?
We do. I heard a story while I was in Morocco about this mythical creature called the roc. And it's this huge bird that's so big it can pick up elephants. There haven't really been any quote-unquote sightings of it since the 17th century, but it's kind of like a mixture between a dragon and a bird, but more bird-like because it has feathers. And they're supposed to be massive creatures that came from Madagascar. So it's a mythological animal, as we know right now. So.
God. So are elephants also in Morocco?
No, unfortunately, elephants are not indigenous to Morocco. I wish they were because I love elephants, but no elephants, unfortunately. One creature that is very indigenous to Morocco are birds. Morocco has over 450 indigenous birds.
Oh my God.
And so people from all around the world will come to Morocco and do bird watching explorations where they go and they look at the birds, and there are all different kinds. North America has a little less than 1,000 altogether with Canada, North America, and Mexico combined. So the fact that one country, Morocco, has about half as many as North America entirely is a really huge rarity. Yeah.
Wow, like Korea doesn't have that many animals anymore.
No.
But we do have a wealth of mythological animals, and particularly dragons. And so if you see a lot of old movies about dragons in East Asia, you see a lot of them without any feet or without any toes, and they're very like snake-like. The reason for that is, or at least according to Korean myth, is that dragons are supposedly like supposedly originated in Korea, and they started with 4 toes. The more west they go, the more toes they gain. So in China they have 5 toes, and in Japan they have 3. But then the further they go along each like direction, they start losing the toes because they get weary of traveling. And so the ones you see in like movies of East Asian dragons usually don't have any toes because they lost them all.
So do they slither or can they fly in Korea? Do you know what say?
There are three established kinds of dragons, but there are many other kinds other than that.
Yeah.
Most of them, well, the most powerful one called the Yong can fly through the sky. Some other dragons just walk on the ground, like because they have all 4 toes.
They have their toes.
And some live in the ocean, like the Kyol, which like swims through the ocean.
Kind of like, it reminds me of the Loch Ness Monster.
Yeah.
I can see some similarities in other places.
It's really neat too because they have to gain their toes or they have to gain their feet. And so they have to use something called the Yoiju, which is like the philosopher's stone that fell from heaven. So they all start out without any toes. And then they get this philosopher's stone from heaven to become whichever kind of dragon they want to be, like the sky dragon or like earth dragon or water dragon. And then some of them stay in Korea and some of them travel, and then they gain or lose their toes after that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. So I know that when I was in Morocco, there were lots of animals in America, like chickens and cows and goats. And some of those animals, you know, you'd eat, like the chickens. Are there any animals or foods in Korea that you eat that are animals?
Well, I mean, people do eat chickens and cows and like pork and everything. But a really interesting thing that people eat within the poultry region is like quail eggs. And so they're called mechurial in Korean. The dish itself is called 장조림. And usually it can come in this little like canned substance because it's really hard to make. Since the quail eggs are so small in comparison to chicken eggs as seen in the picture, it's really hard to peel back and it's really hard to prepare. But because like they come in quantified conveniences, people tend to eat these out of the can or they buy them from the store, like already made.
Is that more of a dinner item or a breakfast item? Or what kind of taste does it have? Is it salty or sweet?
It's hard to say about like what kind of item it is because all meals are pretty much the same in Korea. It's a side dish, so you would eat this with some rice and like kimchi or something other on the side. In terms of the taste, I wish I could open this right now, but it's almost lunchtime. It tastes kind of salty. It has a sweet tang to it because of all the vegetables that you will put with it. And some people say it's even spicy because you're supposed to ferment it with some peppers.
So you can it's kind of like a malleable taste. You can kind of make it taste different depending on what you cook it with.
For sure, yeah.
Okay,
it also depends on how much sauce you use because they use it like fish sauce and soy sauce in order to make it as well. Yeah. Anything similar to that in like Morocco?
Well, my homestay family had chickens, and so the chickens would lay eggs daily, and we'd eat the eggs. But in terms of food like that, I remember going to the market, and everything is fresh in Morocco when you buy meat. And so when you want a chicken, what you do is you go to the market and you pick out a chicken you want. Like if you've ever been to a seafood restaurant and you see the lobsters up front, and most people will get to pick the lobster that they want to eat. So you go to the market and you say, I'd like this chicken. And then the chicken man, I guess, the man who runs the chicken stall, will prepare the chicken for you and take it home and play it that night.
I mean, Korea is kind of similar. Like we have a lot of traditional markets as well, along with like all the supermarkets that we have. And they're called 시장 in Korean. Usually they sell other things like vegetables and like clothes and like other flea market-ish items. But the biggest thing that we have are seafood markets. Just like what you said, you would go up to the fish market owner or like the fish man, and then they would prepare the fish right in front of you, and you'll have like free.
And it's super fresh.
Yeah, fresh sashimi ready to go.
Wow,
it's pretty.
Sounds delicious. I'm hungry for lunch now.
Yeah. So what we're going to do now is we're going to do a sort of quiz-bowl kind of game.
Yes.
So what we'll do is we'll read out loud a question, and whoever of all the schools out here can type the answer first into our chat box will also win the question. And so we'll give you like an example before we start. So this isn't particularly related to our lesson, but something that you guys should all know if you guys can identify this animal. You guys can type in the answer before we finish the question. If you don't, then we'll just wait until somebody answers first. Okay, so do you want to read out the question?
Yeah, sure. So, this animal is commonly found in American households. It varies in shape and size, but some popular names include Spot and Bingo. The dog's cry is noted as a wolf in English. Several well-known species of this animal include the golden retriever, the Labrador, and the poodle. What is this animal's name? Yes.
Thanks, Mike.
Mike got it. It's a dog. So now we're going to do more of those questions, but more related to Korea and Morocco. And so I guess I'll go ahead and do the first question. So we didn't talk about this, but based on the hints, you may be able to guess. Can anyone guess what the country animal of Morocco is? Here are your hints. It has a fluffy mane. It's currently extinct in Morocco and was once an exotic pet of the king. It's a very powerful animal. Yes, Mike got it again. It's a lion. Yeah, it's actually the Barbary lion, and it's on Morocco's crest. There are two on Morocco's crest, but it's extinct right now. Well, forever.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of a legendary animal.
Yeah, very legendary.
Okay, so this question, or this mythological animal, is popular all around the world. It's been featured in a good number of movies such as Mulan, Godzilla, and D-Wars. Its properties vary from country to country, but in Korea it has 4 toes, Japan 3, and China 5. It can be it's considered fire-breathing in Western culture, but in Korea it can be either the sky, the earth, or the sea. What is the name of this reptilian creature that identifies with characters such as Toothless, Godzilla, Mushu, and Smog? Nice!
Yes!
Thanks, Mike!
It's a dragon! I really like dragons. I used to play this game when I was a kid, and it had these model dragons. So I think it's really neat that so many different places have stories about the dragons.
Almost like they're real or something.
Yeah, it'd be so neat if they were. That would be an awesome form of transportation to get to school, you know, just riding a dragon. So going off transportation, which animal in Morocco is used as transportation in sandy areas? I can give you a hint. It has beautiful eyelashes, and it stores its fat in a hump. And it can drink up to 20 gallons of water in a minute. Yes.
Nice.
Good job, Mike. It's a camel. In other places in Morocco, like the big city of Fez, where there are very tight alleyways, it's a very claustrophobic environment where the walls are very close. People will use donkeys in order to cart things around. Yeah, like their fruits that they sell deeper in the market or just to get home. So in certain areas, camels are used. In other areas, people will use donkeys.
Wow, that's pretty neat. Kind of going off of transportation, but I guess it depends on how you look at it. This animal is under the aves class. It is a bird. It has brown feathers and spotted streaks, and its eggs are typically smaller than chicken eggs, though they have a similar taste. It can be often found in canned items, especially as a popular side dish in South Korea, and the Korean name is the mechuri. What is the name of this bird? Oh. Anyone?
This is a really hard one.
It's the quail.
The quail.
Yeah, just like we said, we eat quail eggs in Korea. And so I guess we'll open this up. to
Yeah.
questions now.
Does anyone have any questions for us about animals or about Korea and Morocco? We'd be happy to. You can type in the chat, or you can unmute yourselves and speak to us directly. Well, while you all are thinking of any questions you may have for us, I have one more quiz bowl question. So it is, which two animals did I mention as being pets in Morocco? The hint is they both clean themselves. Would you like to guess, Grace?
I'm guessing either a cat or a pigeon.
Correct.
Hey.
Those are the two. Yeah. Cats and pigeons there are a plethora of them.
All right. So this question that we got was, how did your time abroad affect your view of American culture? What are some highs and what are some lows? So I guess I'll open it up to you.
Okay, so how did my time abroad affect my view on American culture? Well, I talked about food earlier, and I very much had a difference of opinion in the foods I ate when I returned. Almost everything that I ate or drank there was homemade and fresh. The orange juice I drank was made daily by my homestay mom, and the meat that we ate was bought daily from the market. And the fruits and vegetables, when I went outside of the city, I could see where they were grown. And I could see in the mornings when I walked to school, the farmers bringing in their fresh produce. So I suppose, like, what I've changed about my view of America is just how much unfresh food we eat. Not unfresh, but more like processed or packaged food. We have fresh items in the grocery stores, but it was just a really big difference in my diet there. So I guess I would say I looked more critically on the things I ate when I returned.
I think that's really interesting because I thought the exact opposite. So I guess my perception of America while I was in Korea for all 6 years changed a lot in terms of, like, I thought Americans ate a lot of processed food and the like. But maybe it's because we're in Chapel Hill. But when I came here, I realized how many things are organic in America versus in Korea where everything's like commercially farmed. And although there is a small movement towards organic goods in Korea, it's very small. Like, especially in the city, people don't really think of it that often. And when people go out to eat, they go out to eat at restaurants, like with prepared food, rather than cooking food at home. So I thought that was also a very interesting aspect of American culture in terms of, like, where do you eat your food? People usually eat it here at their houses.
Where do you get it, or where do you eat it?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I know that when I was growing up, we ate a lot of meals at home, so it was a nice parallel in Morocco where we all ate around the table, something that most ate refreshing that day, so that was really nice.
Yeah, in comparison to getting canned goods.
Do you all have any more questions for us? The question is, what's the best advice on studying abroad that you could give to my high school students? Okay, so I guess I'll start first. Last summer, I had the amazing opportunity to study abroad. It was my first time ever outside of America. I wanted to go to Morocco because I wanted to enhance my Arabic skills that I've been gaining here at school. And one thing that I would say to prepare yourself when studying abroad is to think about how you're going to interact with another culture. So before I went, my study abroad advisors told me, there's a lot more outward remarks made in Morocco towards foreigners than you may be comfortable with or that you may be familiar with. And so that's one thing I would prepare yourself for, is just to read up on everything you can, because there are different mannerisms and different ways of interacting with the public in Morocco versus America. So, for example, I would walk throughout the streets in Morocco, and as a woman, I felt that I needed to have a man with me constantly, because there's a huge coffee culture in Morocco that I didn't know about, that I probably should have read more up on, where men will sit at the coffee shops and will outwardly gaze and make remarks. So what you want to do is just like be aware of these things, and maybe talk to more people who have been to these areas, and just like prepare yourself and ask yourself what you would do in these situations. So just think about things that will happen and how you will react, because sometimes you don't have time to prepare, and it's just it's nice to have an idea of things that may happen. How about you?
Again, I think I could also say the opposite. I mean, it's very important to be respectful and to research your culture before you go to the said culture or explore the said country. But I think a lot of people, or a lot of Americans particularly from what I've seen while I was in Korea, is that people don't explore as much as they should. And so a lot of people tend to stick to their own bubbles.
Right.
I know this one person who kept eating, they only ate meat throughout their entire time in Korea, while most dishes are like vegetable based, which was a bit of a problem. Like he couldn't get the full experience. So I would definitely suggest going out there out of your comfort zone, because you're only going to be there once.
Yeah, that you know of.
Yeah, like you only have the present, so you might as well carpe diem.
And going off of that, another thing is when you're on study abroad, you're usually with people from a similar environment as yourself, maybe the same university or a similar university. And so, like you said, it's very easy to get in your bubble and not talk to the local community. But you will get so much more out of your experience if you just go at least once a day out of your way to speak to someone local in that community, whether it's to have a conversation with a taxi driver who may be driving you to school like I got a few times, or talking to the people on the street who are selling you food from their market stall. I would just definitely say talk to people and go out of your way to do it, because it's really easy to get confined in your own little box. And another thing is, when you study abroad, you need to weigh the pros and cons, because when you're abroad, you're not going to be working. There are going to be a lot of distractions, and it's good to weigh the pros and cons of it and make sure that, like, yes, this is something I want to do, and be prepared.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. So one of the questions was asking how you may be able to fund or pay for going abroad. Personally, without scholarships and grants, I would not have been able to study abroad. I'm very lucky to be at a university, Chapel Hill, where they have funding opportunities. And so what I did to get funding was I went to my local Global Education Center, which is the building I'm in right now. And they are very gung-ho on wanting to get people abroad, especially people who have never been abroad, or people who want to do research, or people who just honestly want to interact with other communities and learn from them and share their experiences back here at home in our community. And so I applied for several scholarships, and I didn't think I'd get any of them, but you just apply, and you know what, something good will happen. But definitely go to your local study abroad office at whatever university you may go to, or if your community has any globally based organizations, they may be able to point you towards scholarships that you can get. I know that the U.S. government has a few, depending on what your interests are, whether you're trying to learn a language or you're trying to study the area. So I would definitely look at the U.S. government sites, and then just your local university's global organization sites as well.
Yeah, and like once you're on the field, and it's too late to apply for scholarships anymore, you should definitely budget yourself accordingly. Like, be strategic in where you're eating and what you're eating. So on university campuses, like, the food is generally a lot cheaper, at least like in East Asia, I know for sure. when you're doing public transportation, you should probably use metro over the taxi. I mean, that would be a cheaper alternative as well. And of course, I mean, you can always split the bill with other people. So when you go to a restaurant to try a bunch of different kinds of food, for example, or you can order a whole set of dishes and then you can just split the bill with somebody else. So once you're on the field, budgeting isn't so much of a problem once you realize how to get the cheapest things the best way.
Right.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Are there any more questions for us? I know that wasn't exactly about animals, but I am willing to talk about animals in Morocco or Korea, or any questions about studying abroad or about the countries themselves if you're curious. And if after this presentation you have any other questions, I'm sure we can put our emails up and you can email us and I'd be happy to help in any way.
Yeah, same here.
All right. So I want to thank you all for watching us today and interacting with us and learning about animals and studying abroad in Morocco and Korea.
I hope your perceptions of animals in Korea and Morocco have changed somewhat. And I hope you've learned from our lesson today that what you think about each country isn't exactly what is actually there in the country. All right.
So always explore.
Yeah. Thank you so much for listening.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Have a nice day.